Alec Baldwin says he would absolutely win if he ran for president in 2020. Baldwin says he's 1,000% sure he would even defeat President Trump. And speaking of washed up and delusional actors, Robert De Niro blasted on Twitter by President Trump after cursing out the president on the Tony Awards. President Trump tweeted this, quote, "Robert De Niro, a very low IQ individual, has received too many shots to the head by very real boxers in movies. I watched him last night and truly believe he may be punch drunk. I guess he doesn't realize the economy is the best it's ever been, with employment being at an all-time high and many companies pouring back into our country. Wake up, Punchy." It seems obvious the only fair fight could be a cage match between De Niro and Baldwin, with the hope, of course, that both would lose. I'm pretty sure they probably would. Joining us tonight, Gina Loudon, political analyst, member of the President's Media Advisory Board, editorial director at the Daily Caller. Vince Colonnese, good to have you with us. Appreciate you being here. Gina, how much does the president have to put up with? I mean, after a tremendous success at the Singapore summit, you look over at all the left-wing loonies making up nonsense, now deciding that the president should have done this, could have done that, in ignoring the real accomplishments, the historic accomplishments at Singapore.
Yeah, it's pretty pathetic, Lou, when people who are witnessing history in the art of the nuclear deal that we just saw orchestrated last night can't even recognize the vast fortune that has come at them as Americans at this point in time in history and what our president has done for us. I agree, they've got to be punch drunk, but they match their ilk of the coastal elites, like Madonna, who talked about blowing up the White House, Kathy Griffin, who held the severed head of our president, and nothing was really done about it. And the list goes on and on. Lou, I think that the two of them, Alec Baldwin and Robert De Niro, should probably team up and run together on a ticket, and they can just drop F-bombs all the way to Election Day when the bomb is dropped on them, that they lose big, because there's no chance they would ever have against our amazing president.
Hey, Vince, your thoughts on what in the world, how will the left-wing national media even deal with the successes of a full term, let alone what has been less than a year and a half in office? By the time we get to the elections in 2020, this president will have run up a record that will suffocate the left.
Yeah, and meanwhile, they're gonna look at wherever they can, under any rock they can, to find some sort of vulnerability to go after the president. And that speaks to the deep contempt of the American media for the president. The truth is, look at the North Korea summit, this in Singapore. The president of the United States, by and large, knows more about this subject, North Korea, than almost every single person who's been on television commenting on that very thing. Yet they judge him in a very negative way for it. And the truth is, he's been on that, specifically that issue, for many decades now, speaking about nuclear proliferation, the threat of North Korea, and has received really extensive briefings inside the White House, including from Mike Pompeo, in the lead up to what I thought was a very well orchestrated and well executed meeting with Kim Jong-un. I think we're clearly in a better position today than we were yesterday. It's hard to see any other result from that. Yet you have so many people sort of hectoring him from the press because they have such low regard for him. They think they're so much smarter than he is when there's just no evidence to that.
It's no wonder, is it, that the national left-wing media is just spiraling into irrelevance, as well as contempt from the public. I want to talk about what the Republicans are doing, though, because Speaker Ryan tonight is trying to put a discharge petition on the floor and vote it and enact it, which would, in effect, give the Dems their agenda on amnesty for illegal immigrants in this country. It would be a mammoth victory for, of course, K Street, the Chamber of Commerce, Koch brothers, the Business Roundtable, Wall Street, everybody but the American middle class, the people who support President Trump. It would be a disaster. Gina, what do you expect to happen from this, led by this absolutely absurdist, lame duck speaker?
Well, I see this a little bit differently, Lou. I think you nail it when you talk about middle America and how they're witnessing all this. And I'm so glad you coupled these two topics, because the people in the Midwest and the South, where I'm originally from, are watching the antics going on in Hollywood, and that every time illegal immigration is brought up, and they are more fired up than ever to repeat what they did in electing this president in the first place. This will only work to the favor. Every time illegal immigration is mentioned, it only works to the favor of those out there who want to make sure that Trump has a majority.
Vince, you get the last word here tonight.
If Republicans need to carry any lesson forward, it's that Republican voters care sincerely about seeing illegal immigration stopped, not exacerbated. So they need to figure out a way to actually get control of our borders, get control of illegal immigration, and not create incentives for more people to do that, come into our country illegally. It's not going to win them elections. They're going to go right back to a minority, and it's going to be that way for a long time.
Gina Loudon, Vince Colanese, thank you both for being here. Appreciate it very much. Good to see you both.